Hi, good evening, all viewers and participants. We are back with the RIGA IFF Extended Realities program. And today we will be addressing topics about XR distribution and idea development, as well as other themes regarding to developing your XR projects for arts, culture, and education. Once again, thanks to our partners, the National Film Center of Latvia, French Institute in Latvia, and the British Embassy, who are kindly supporting the course of these events. And I will leave the floor to Eva. You're in good hands, so tune in. Thank you.
Hello again for those listening, and hello from the studio here in Riga, the festival venue. And we're continuing with the panel discussion. And we have Sam Jean Marchelot from France Television Story Lab, coming from France, live here with us in the studio. And then we have two more guests, panelists, online with us. So Rasa Schmidt from RIGC, Center for New Media Culture, Latvia, joining via Zoom, and Eva Ilze Jankowska, Embrace, XR event from Finland. So ladies, hello, are you with us? We see you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. So I will ask actually to introduce yourself, telling a bit your background and what exactly is what you're doing right now in your represented organizations and what your organizations are doing. And should I name? Let's start with Eva Ilze.
Yes. Hey. So yes, my name is Eva, and I'm from Latvia actually originally, but now currently for last 5 years already being here in Finland. And at the moment, we just ended our event, our Embrace, 2 weeks ago. It was actually a long run. Well, it's not yet ended. All of the winning teams are still working, and they will carry out their idea till the next year in the March. But yes, my background at the moment, I'm actually starting my PhD studies in Aalto University in media department, so that's going to be a long and active journey there. But shortly about the Embrace itself, the idea was created already a couple of years ago by our artistic director Eero Tiainen and the Aalto University Cinema Lab. So they came up with a necessity that there has to be an event that connects all of the XR artists and professionals, developers, and also funders. So the idea was kept up till now when we were able to actually carry it out. And we gathered together FIVR, which is the Association of Virtual Reality here in Finland, also Helsinki XR Center that actually started to work quite a few years only ago, and Aalto University and other great collaborators. So then we created this event, which contained of 3 parts. So forum, where we had wonderful speakers from many professionals from Finland, and then we had the hackathon, where we gathered all of the developers, and we had also our students there who then created their ideas and presented them to our impactors, as we call them. They are the main collaborators, which were Magic's infrastructure, then Varjo, and the National Museum of Finland. So they were the ones that challenged our teams and to come up with the great ideas regarding the XR art. And so that's in short about our event, I would say.
Thank you, Eva Ilse. I'm sure you're gonna talk more about what you're doing there. And then we'll want to come back to Jean, which is our recent presenter from the next previous panel or presentations we had just had. And so Jean already talked, but shortly again, maybe mentioning also your background and how come you came to France Television.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Jeanne Marchelot from France Television, and I'm the head of the Story Lab. So I'm working as a EXA commissioner for the first French broadcaster. I come from production and post-production on TV series mainly, and I took this job July last year. So VR and XR are really new also for me. And with this Story Lab, we are developing a different kind of project, fiction and documentaries as app for store for mobile or Quest. Welcome.
And Rasa, could you present yourself?
Yes. Hello. I will briefly present. I'm happy also just to show a couple of images, but I'm artist and working with emerging media for a quite long time, since the advent of the internet, and more recently also exploring immersive media. I'm co-founder of RIGA Art Center, and I'm also quite actively involved in education. I'm a professor in new media art in Liepāja University, and I'm also a scientific researcher in Basel Arts Academy, and I also am visiting lecturer in MIT in Boston in Art, Culture, Technology program. All these my activities together since for quite long, they have been also shaped also my artistic practice, where I work together with Raiti Schmitz, my partner. So we have been also working all along for many years through different concepts related to the technologies, which continuously keep changing. Yeah, so we are organizing at the moment also as one of our key activities actually is a RIGA festival, which is larger annual event in Riga, but also we have a smaller exhibitions all year long in a RIGA gallery. And ourselves also in parallel, we are working with as artists. And so at the moment, so this is what you see is our more recent artwork, Atmospheric Forest, which is a virtual reality trying to engage people into the complex understanding of climate issues, more particularly the relations between the forest ecosystems and the atmosphere. So it all started about in 2000, it's the second wave of VR. So in 2017, we organized in KIM, Contemporary Art Center in Riga, the exhibition Virtualities and Realities, showing more than 10, almost 20 artworks, all in virtual reality. So from different perspectives. So we are looking at all these issues from both. So we also had a global control, more like from surveillance perspective. So it was the next edition. However, I would say that our main interest is to look at from how if these new sensing, immersive, extended reality technologies, if they can also raise awareness about how we interact with our environments. So we work a lot with also the green issues and ecological data and also technologies. And yeah, so the atmospheric forest I already mentioned. And at the moment also we are still having an open exhibition called Post Sensorium. So this is already more like our intention was in depth explore the current state of these technologies, which are how artists are exploring these relations between ourselves and the environment. So because we are arguing that we actually it's really a time now to go back to and reconsider our relations between embodied experiences, what it can say, and all our sensoriums, so that we should revise, especially this. Also, I've heard from the previous panel. So what is this potential that virtual reality and sensorial technologies can bring to us? So this exhibition, for those who are in Riga, it's in the first floor in the exhibition hall of the National Library. It's still open until 12th of November. Okay, I stopped just sharing the screen, and that's my introduction.
Thank you, Rasa. Very visual presentation of yourself. And here we have a really interesting panel. We have Jean, like a broadcaster with the hat of broadcaster. Then Rasa, yourself as an artist, together, if we could say, location-based venue where you have accessibility to showcase such kind of works. And then we have Eva Ilse, who also has an event to showcase, and not only showcase, but get those creators, not only creators and financiers, as you mentioned, together. And my first question for you ladies will be to share your personal views on this building bridges among creatives and tech industry. Do we need to build them? How come the ideas come? Or what's your experience? Do they come from maybe tech companies themselves, or only creators come on board and then they need very much help to proceed with the implementation of their ideas? And yeah, what's your view on, do we need to strengthen those links between the tech industry, that we have this better collaboration while developing, planning, financing, and producing those XR pieces? Yeah, who wants to start there?
I can start if you want. First of all, I really enjoy being on the panel and say hello, ladies. It's great. Just as I'm working for France Télévisions, which is a broadcaster, when a creator has a project or has an idea, first of all, he has to find a producer, and the producer will tell me the story. That's usually the way it works. But sometimes I can have not an idea, but a wish to work with some talents. So I can go also toward them and say, well, what do you have as a story that that we can work on together? In France, we actually have quite good environment for VR. As I said previously, France is the second country producing VR, behind the United States and before Canada. Yeah, and so we have two public broadcasters that are co-producing VR experience. Says France Télévisions and Arte, and we also have the Centre National du Cinéma, the public fund for cinema, that has a specific fund for XR. So the economic system is beginning to be really happening, to be reliable. Just now. So it's starting to, we can speak, I think, about XR industry just now.
So can I make sure, double check that usually you talk to those ideas or creators who already has their production behind them and who knows how they're going to implement the project and what kind of partners they might have. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And in France, we have not many producers that can produce XR experiences. And so because there are only a few, and it's really easy to identify them as well as the creators. And we have also the studios to make the XR experiences. We have studios that can produce and post-produce all the experiences, and are quite very good. We have really a good knowledge in France about all of this, about all the workflow, in fact, from the creation to the very end of the fabrication of the program.
Yeah, so you seem very acknowledged and won't be surprised if something goes wrong, or there's some updates coming from the, I don't know, headset the players. And how about other ladies? Eva Ilse, you have this event which seems to be dedicated for all those different people to meet up, and for you have ideas pitching forum. Tell us more.
Yeah, basically our event, the main idea was to bring all together, because here in Finland, even though the awareness of XR art and the production is, I believe, in a quite good state, but we still don't have a really stable bridge between the creator to the funder and back. So we don't have like a really stable infrastructure, and that's why we have a lot of hubs. And for instance, like Helsinki XR Center, they are a really great hub where anyone who has interest in VR or AR can go and meet other people who are interested in such things. The same also the Fever, the Finnish VR association, they also work as a connector between all of these stakeholders. And the reason why we thought that this is really necessary, because at the moment there are more about VR experiences, but less about VR art experiences, meaning that the VR, the usage of the VR is a little bit different than what we thought that would be needed as well to be implemented into VR development here in Finland. So we have many universities and schools that kind of give an option to study here, the VR and all the XR options. Here in Helsinki, you can, Aalto University is a great example, and also Mediapolis, that is another university that offers, and of course Tampere University. And so meaning that we have people who are interested, because all the programs are always full, and meaning that we will soon have, again, every year more and more people who are interested in these things. So that's why the infrastructure is needed to build as soon as possible. And we have a really good start, I believe. We have Yle, which is the national news broadcasters who are creating also and working with VR. But in this case, we just wanted to emphasize on the bridge between the funders and developers. And I think one way of doing this, a good way of doing this, is through the networking and through all of the hub experiences. All of these kind of like residencies is another really great option what you can use to gather together with people, because I believe that when I was talking about with our experiences, like the artists who took part in our forum and also exhibited their artworks here, they have a really different background, and the way that they have come to the final product, let's call it like that, is really different. Some of them have grant applications, and they have been really lucky to get funding from the grant applications, like different culture institutions here yearly open up some projects where you can apply. Some of them have started in the hubs where they just go and meet, either it's Business Finland, for instance, or the same now, the Fever, and they just meet with other people, and they see potential in each other, so they can develop and create things together. And we have quite many people who are interested, also from the production view. So I think the problem might be how to find an interest for and kind of catch the technical help, because that's something that some of the artists were mentioning, that they're struggling a lot. And then of course there are the best outcome possible, that the artist also is a professional in the technical specs, so he can create the concept and also carry it out technically. So I think that that's a situation that I can share here, what I have noticed and get kind of feedback from our participants in the event.
Understand, right? That's what's about your event, addressing those challenges. You named it yourself, and could you also shortly explain a bit more about your event, about the structure? You mentioned that you'd collaborate a lot of universities, which is very kind of expected activities, I would say. But do you do hackathons? How you invite artists? Do you launch some kind of public calls? Is it only national event, or you're looking forward to other nationals to take part, whatever they're studying and living in Finland? How that works? Could you elaborate a bit more?
Yeah, so this year we try to concentrate, this is our first year, so we try to concentrate on national level, but we did distribute information also across our collaboration universities and associations to, for instance, to Estonia and also to Latvia. And so we were open to everyone who wanted to take part, because we kind of tried to create this hybrid model of on-spot and virtual collaboration. So we had participants who were taking part here in Finland, and they were some of them were students, some of them were freelancers. The hackathon was open this time for everyone. We were mostly concentrating on people who would be specifically interested in XR, but we had a few people who were more interested in production in general, and they just wanted to widen their kind of point of view. And so the teams, so from the practical view, it was that basically we launched a registration form, and we shared with all of the media and all of our collaborators. We were lucky that we already had, like, for instance, Aalto University as a really strong collaborator, and also one of our impactors, which is as I mentioned before, the Matrix infrastructure, for instance. They have the new Volumetric studio now in Tampere, just recently opened. So they were also distributing information through their channels, because they were also willing to invite more and more participants. And then we had Aalto University, Metropolia University, because we were in premises of Helsinki XR Center, which is actually a part of Metropolia. So we had different communication channels that we distributed the information, and then people started to apply, and we looked at their background, and we tried to kind of predict what type of teams we would have. And then we invited all of them to meet up. And then all of our three collaborators, National Museum and Varjo and Magic's infrastructure, they introduced themselves with them and also presented their challenges, because they were the ones that stated what are the things that we want to see, meaning that National Museum had created 3 different ideas, like topics where they could be willing to implement VR in their actual expositions already. So they offered 3 different kind of scenarios that would be the content-wise for this challenge. And then Varjo, they recently launched their newest headset, and so they had more technical kind of headset-related challenges for the team. And the same for Magic's infrastructure, because they also work with a lot of really technical latest technology, and the same as I mentioned, the Volumetric studio, for instance. So all of these 3, they defined the challenges, and the teams had to face the challenges and work with it for a week. And then they had to present the ideas. And then the jury, which consisted of all of the impactors and also from our team and Fever and Extra Center. So they decided which one team will move on forward and actually carry out their idea. So the winning team at the end received 10,000 euro grant for realizing their idea. And they have kind of a deadline till next year's April. So they will create that together, and then we will see when the museum will launch it in their exposition.
Interesting to hear. And sorry to stick to you, so maybe too long, but so your event looks like a 1 week hackathon, right? And it's first year, and it seems from all the players you're mentioning that there is a high demand and interest in such kind of events, what you're doing, so merging and building bridges among. But could we clear, like, so who are the main organizers or sponsors or of the event? You mentioned one person behind as an idea generator, but was it a bunch of freelancers who thought, oh my god, there are so many players, let's put them all together? Or this need of such kind of event came from the like sponsors or the main players as Vario or universities who see that there's so much to be done, and let's start doing that when we need this type of events for all of us to meet up?
Yeah, so the idea was born by Aalto University Cinema Lab and collaboration with Eero Tiainen, who created basically the concept of the whole event. But then we also gathered the financing part from different grant applications. For instance, that is one way that we choose to go. Then all of the three collaborators, the National Museum, Vario, and the Magics Infrastructure, they were the ones that kind of sponsored, let's say it like that. They were the ones that provided the option for not only using their facilities, but also for the winning team to receive all the grant. So basically the 10,000 euro funding comes from the collaborators. They are the ones that split the funding. And for the rest of the team, it was mostly gathered from different grant applications here in Finland.
Wonderful, wonderful to hear that the national funders also see a need of such events and allocate the funding. And Rasa, what's your take on this? Running the venue, creating yourself. You look like the artist who could do whatever she comes up with idea-wise. Is that true? Do you do it all your art yourself? And what you see running the venue, do you invite artists and then they create, or they bring ideas and they say they're gonna exhibit at that time, and would you like to exhibit at your venue? How that works from your personal and the venue owner experience?
Okay, and also the situation in Latvia. So thank you for this invitation. I was really interested to join you because I'm very particularly interested also to hear about how your festival is going to approach this XR and distribution. So my perspective, so first of all, working as an artist, we usually work rather long term. So it means it's research based. And if there is a successful some funding, or like the more recent artwork was only developed because it was a part of eco data project supported by Swiss National Science Foundation. So it was a 3-year research project. So there was enough time and enough time to devote for your artistic research, enough time to work with VR technologies. So, and of course, we don't do everything alone. However, we already learned a lot ourselves as well to work with Unity and so on, but also working in a team. It's really time consuming. So and there is not really like a scene in Latvia. I would say there are really good highlights at the moment in education, like you mentioned, Vidzemes Augstskola. That's already a great program. Also, it's a media program, technology more. It's not a really art program. Art and audiovisual media, we have a joint master program, Liepāja University and Riseba University, and this is in Riga and Liepāja shared, so where we are teaching actually quite a lot. So we have this interactive art and also digital art module, which is all about immersive media and also audiovisual media art is very much focusing on 360 video. So there are, like, I would say, emerging initiatives all around in Latvia. But in our gallery, we try, first of all, we try to show these emerging initiatives. So then we invite, and we try also to invite especially young artists who maybe have been our former students. Also, some of them are quite successful, and you see, like Eva is in Aalto University. Some of our other students are even studying at the moment PhD in Washington University in Seattle, and some of them are based in Berlin, and these all are very much have been coming through RIGA Gallery, also many of these artists, and new media art studies of Liepāja. But then we have these highlight festivals, like where we really try to bring together what's in digital arts, art world, like contemporary media art world. Especially more recently, of course, it's dealing with immersive media and AI at large, in large scale. So we try to bring them together for this one occasion in the year, also in Riga at the moment, virtually in Zoom. So we have usually about 60 universities worldwide participating. These usually also are young researchers from different art disciplines, from the theater background to visual arts. Yeah, that's how we try to combine all these things. And because we do many things trying to get this media art scene going on also here in Riga and being internationally recognized. So it takes sometimes many processes, takes a bit maybe more time. Yeah, but unfortunately, I even have no idea how it could be so focused like Eva just described, and that how we could find really how we could give actually the first step to support. I know these artists also actually quite few artists have been already taken and studying this Vidzeme University. So which means that they have interest also to go in depth into technology, not only in the concepts and art. So at the moment, it would be quite crucial actually to try to go that direction which Eva just described, that how there could be, how we can bring together these funding possibilities, stakeholders, and all these emerging initiatives, which might be maybe new startups or artistic companies, art companies.
Thank you for your take. It really seems like universities is this safe space to experiment, to learn, fail, build your network, get to know the players, and in this way build your first experiences, your portfolio, and that's how to kick off your career in this field. And I want to continue on this concept of ideas. What's your experience? How they come? Do they come from artists only, and how you help them to continue with their productions, with implementation? And I don't know if you were together today with us during the case studies. We had several artists explaining their own experiences. Some of them, they were really experienced, so you feel that they already have background. So if they go to the funding bodies, they already have something to show. But in some cases, they also fail to receive the funding. So how to match those two, this idea, which might be very big and beautiful in the beginning, and then there are several maybe obstacles on the way, how to fund it, or how to proceed with production when some problems occur. So I would like that you share your experiences on how you take on the idea and how you choose and how you know that this is the one which really can really make and it can really happen. Jean, what's your experiences so far?
It's a tough question. As I said in my keynote, you need first a good story, and then you need a good story, and then you need a good story first as a start. Yeah, the idea must be, a good story, and then the choice of the new technology has to help the story, has to to support, to make it better in a way. And then you have, of course, topics that we have to talk about now, like environment, like women, like handicap, and afterwards it's also I think I've got like the feeling that that there's something that that should be revealed about the project. It's hard
From
to
your
say,
experience.
but yes, because well, from my experience and my background, I made some. I was at university in literature, and then I studied the serial language and the cinema language. And when we had all those very good American TV series, I thought, why the Americans are better than us? Why it's not working for us? And then I saw all the very good TV series from Great Britain or Scandinavia. And in fact, there's nothing new, but everybody is using the very original language about how to tell a story, and it comes from very far away, and that's what we need, and because of all this background I have, I can feel when if the story is good or not, if the new technology will support the story or not, if the new technology is just like kind of marketing thing that it doesn't work, it won't work. So and then that's also the creator that brings who brings the project that I'm really I give really attention of, and it's about all this in a way. It's a recipe, and then it's like yes, that's most of the. It's like you have all the ingredients, and then suddenly it happens and it works.
But and you're lucky just to spot them. But it feels from your talk also that you won't be afraid to work with young talent, which let's say doesn't have a lot of experience. And how would you do? You would match with the strong production companies to make sure this, so you don't have to step in as a producer because you're a broadcaster. You just want to have the editorial rights.
Yeah, on a project you can't have a young creator, a young producer, and a young studio. That's not possible. Well, if it's possible, but it can be
at some cost.
It has some cost. So if you have a young creator, then you will need a strong producer and a strong studio. You can have a young producer and a young creator, but not. And you would need a very, very good studio to make the experience. So it's about an alchemy of all this, and everybody has to need some experience, and you will then you will ask how to start, how to be on the first XR experience. To give the chance to young creators, then I would say as an advice to go and get a strong producer and then a strong studio, first of all. Or maybe be with a co-director. That would be an option, or a co-author as well.
With more experience.
Yeah, with more experience.
Okay, thank you. Lovely.
You're welcome.
And I don't know, Rasta or Eva, what's your experiences? Maybe Eva, you have this event, and what's happening? What are the panelists asking for the teams if they're pitching their ideas, or since the ideas are mostly generated by the partners of yours? So how free the creators are to bring the solution, and does the supporters judge about, oh, this is doable, this is not, or this is going to be too expensive or not? How that works from your experience of this year?
We had a really, I don't want to say really strict criteria, but we had a really straightforward criteria, meaning that since all of the three impactors, as we call them, and they had their own, of course, not only objective but also subjective understandings of what they are expecting from the teams, and subjectivity always follows, in my opinion, in this case, and so you can't find always the golden middle path, because for instance, we had a really open impactor Magix infrastructure. They said, we just want to see what they can do with our latest technology. We want to see where they see the idea can be implemented in, and by using this technology. Like we're not interested in if it's durable, not durable. We just want to see where is the limit. And they, since they are also actually quite new infrastructure themselves, that's why they're still might be looking for different ways to expand and find the use for their technology. And then again, for a complete opposite one was the National Museum, who had they have created three ideas, which they would, the kind of three concepts of, for instance, there was the winning one was about the Queen Ingeborg, and so they had three historical stories, which because they're willing to create this VR experience in their museum and offer it to their visitors. But they have kind of a broad idea what they want to see, meaning that they know the time period where it should be, and they have kind of noticed that, okay, in this place in our museum, the VR experience would be really great implementation in this. So they had really kind of created three offers for that concept-wise that the teams had to stick with, meaning that they could not choose anything from the history or anything from the offer that is there in the National Museum of Finland. And well, Varjo was also really open in this case, that they also wanted to see what they did not set any limitation or anything. They wanted to see where the teams will go and what are the ideas regarding to the technology they are supporting us with. And we asked the teams to explain why are they using XR medium for this particular idea, because there are so many options out there where the medium is used kind of unnecessarily, just for the sake of trend or for the sake of just using it. So we were willing to know if they could actually carry out production-wise the concept that they have created, and if they are able to explain why would it be done in XR. And all of the teams actually dealt with this really well. They all had, might be it's a Finnish mentality as well, to be really realistic. So we had like really realistic teams that they were like, okay, we know that this can be done in this way. And they kept in touch all the time with all of the impactors, meaning that they had mentors and they could ask, if they didn't have like the technological knowledge, they could ask, hey, is this physically possible? Can we do it? Can the technology do this? Like, we want to do A, but is it possible to do it? So I would say that this hackathon, kind of my personal point of view, is that it could have been more objective, meaning that if there would not have been the specific content behind, then I believe that the artistic ideas would have been more developed by the participants, but as it is kind of a balance between where the funding for the whole event comes and where does the artistic freedom stops in this moment, then I would say we reached a good balance. But if I would have to name a minus for a hackathon concept in itself, when the founders are the ones that define also to some extent the concept of the artistic work, then I would say that this is the minus, that we had some definitions of what should be created.
So measure your expectations for those who are joining your festival. And Rasa, how about you, from either your personal perspective while creating art pieces, or since you're working with students, how that goes? You as a venue, you offer just exhibition, but do you consult your students on how should they proceed with the projects, or do you give the feedback that this is too difficult and they should change to some point? What's the actual setting?
Yeah, yes, definitely. So actually, I'm teaching a lot more recently, particularly the methodology, how to work, how to create, how to actually start when you even don't have an idea yet. And this is very much based on experiential learning approach. So that's based. So we do. I always encourage people to go and to take a lot of field works, take sound video. So while you search for idea, or you just go and scan some object, do some photogrammetry. So before you have idea, before you have this good story or even concept good, so you need to devote some experience. You have to really go with your own body to have this embodied or sensory experience of the environment. If you work, for example, with climate or ecology issues, you want to address them in your artwork, but also with the other challenging issues of today. So that this is like one slightly different approach. Then the other is an old story. So how digital art has become marginalized in contemporary arts field as such. It has a long story since the avant-garde time, because in the highest peak of conceptual and avant-garde time was just to say, if the art is functioning, that's not art. But with digital art, you cannot create VR which is not functioning. So there is even no destruction possible as aesthetics in this medium. So it's basically media art is always dealing with this functionality, yeah, interactive. Of course, there can be some aesthetic means, yeah, like has been used, like virtual reality in some contemporary art museums or exhibitions. So when specifically like intensified emotions are shown, for example, yeah. But nevertheless, it's always has been on the edge between the art and media production. And here is when where art starts losing its position, because art cannot enter this production side, like just was described so nicely. So that, yeah, you can have brilliant ideas, but if you don't have a great experienced production team, so forget about them. Or you put so much effort, but then you don't get to distribution networks. You can put so much effort, you can put your single experimental art piece one time in the museum, and maybe better another time maybe in the festival, and that's about it. Yeah? So you don't get also to this distribution networks. Also because of this these differences, so that art needs this experience, because this new knowledge, this is what art can offer different. This is this novelty, yeah. So which can be offered by art. So just to mention, so more, so how I show my students always notes on blindness. It's also a co-production, right, with Arte TV. So it's such a beautiful virtual reality experience. Of course, there is a good story, but also it's so clearly also for artists to understand, so that the concept, all the approach, what is tried to be showed there, that's all about creating this new experience. So what we do in art when we work with immersive media ourselves, or I teach students, so I'm more try to focus, because this is the level where we can really give a push also to this medium, yeah, to think about this new experience or how we transform real world experience using these new mediums, how we transform them into this virtual. And of course, so what's the purpose? Yeah, so that's another, like, this conceptual level is good. And only then, so it's kind of a rather long story to get to this good story. And then would be so great if there would be some like funding possibilities or some seed money or anything which could also or like winners of hackathons, if some really good artistic ideas could get this good production, so then we could see this potential from this particular approach, which called artistic research.
Thank you, Rasa. So good to have your point. Yes, John?
Can I just say something? Yeah, I agree on not on blindness. It's such a great experience. It was produced by Atlas 5, who I work with on different projects, and it was co-produced by Arte, not France Télévisions. And Not on Blindness is typically the very good experience, that very poetic, very sensitive, very smart, and you have a good story, and then because you have a good story, you can have good interaction that can support the story. And it's really about sensations, about it's like a daydream, and it's very poetic, and you can feel, even if it's about blindness, you can feel the light, you can feel the wind virtually, but it's really, and after, at the end, you think, wow, I've just lived something, and it's all the difference. You have to embody something, and you live something, and that's the same. For example, 7 Lives, which is a 360 film. You are on the underground in Tokyo, and then you see a young girl committing suicide, which is really dark, I know. And then to help her soul to make to be in peace, you will have to travel into memories of the people that were just there, that were witnesses of the scene. And at the end of the experience, the way you feel it, there is before and after, and it's so different that what TV series or cinema can offer. So that's also, when you have the story and the concept, you have to think about all the interaction. Why do you have those interactions? How will happen the fact that the user will embody the story? What is the part of the user in the story? And all of this at the end are making a very good project.
Thank you. And you since we have around 10 minutes left, and I have this, let's say, make a last question for all of you, and concerning audiences and distribution possibilities and networks, and how you see, or what questions you raise before producing this VRPs, how precise you are on audiences, like for whom we're doing this piece. Do you ask your productions to be specific about that? And about distribution networks, in your talk you talked about very different projects, and it seems like the one distribution channel is just museums, others also going online, others are app stores, and others are libraries, etc. So there's a whole bunch. So these two elements, audiences and distribution channels, they go together while talking about idea.
Yeah, well, distribution is the main point, in fact, because XR project can't be just seen on festivals. As I said, for France Télévisions, we can have projects that will be available on stores and that can be available also in different places for RBE. such as a museum, libraries, etc. And a good project is a project that you can have on store and can present in the LBE environment. And that's the main point. As far as France Télévisions is concerned, we are buying the rights only for France, but then our apps are available on Apple, Google, and Oculus stores. But it can also be distributed abroad, like 7 grams that I was talking just before, will be released in Finland. So you will be able to upload the app. And because we are working on universal topics and subjects, the XR project can travel all over the world, but they need to be distributed by distributor in countries. So it's important if any producers are just listening to us tonight, well, they can help French producers to distribute the app in Europe and, you know, wherever they can be. But distribution is really the art of everything. So, and it's not it can be sometimes quite tough to work with Apple, Google, and Facebook.
Because they all have their own requirements.
Yeah.
And different dates for premieres, probably.
Yeah, they have their own channels and that we don't have. So, yes, it can be tough.
Yeah. Thank you. And I don't know, maybe Rasa, what's during studies probably? How often you ask about the audiences, for whom this piece is, or is it for art gallery, or do you ask students these questions?
Yes, of course, we ask. I always them ask, so what? So what is it? What they think it should be done? What for? Also, yeah, but mainly our audiences are these through the galleries and museums, through the exhibitions. So this is what quite realistically can be achieved. So how to enter into more wide this distribution network? So actually, more recently, I also, especially due COVID, I always encourage also my students to create at least final should be a video, at least 4K. But because even if you do it in a Unity, you can render out even higher quality. You really can make a beautiful like cinema or whatever, you know, spheric cinema quality pieces, and which might help also to distribute your work, because also exhibitions for a while were closed and they still are not that easy accessible. We think a lot about these distribution questions, but I think a key would be to get somehow much better connected with maybe also audiovisual media industry.
Do you have some thoughts on this topic about the audiences and distribution? How often could you also name the decision makers who give the questions? From what fields they're coming and what kind of questions, and do they ask about audiences and distribution, or that during your event is just the creative part is the most important? What's your experience?
Yeah, if it's for me question, then creative part is important, and important is also because when we curate also our projects, like the Green exhibition in 2019, half a year before COVID. Actually, we even had the summertime, which is usually when people are even away of town. So, but in Riga National Art Museum, so we reached during 2 months, our exhibition reached out to 20,000 visitors, and this is paid tickets. It's even not free, you know. But free tickets for the museum. So of course we didn't get anything. It's from income from the museum, but still we know how to engage public. For example, with RIGA festivals, we know how to reach out also to young researchers, and we know how to get to also students to involve, and how to make them this transition also from what they study into their practices. But what we really lack is how to make the next push, so that really to get this art distributed, especially when it becomes as multimedia as these days with extended reality. We also now curate the augmented reality exhibition, and we are co-producing a new app for it. Also, it was funding from supporting art during the COVID crisis. And so we really try to, we are commissioning also 5 new young artist work. And so far, so good, we can do it. So we have enough knowledge, but how to get next so that this content and this media which we produce is also much more accessible and widely distributed is really a next challenge for us.
Polish, I believe. And Eva-Ilse, what's your take on here? Because the previous question was more addressed to you. Mm-hmm.
I want to say that I think, of course, the best possible outcome is something that we heard from what's happening in France, that there is an actual industry that is actually willing to distribute the already created artworks, and that is the ultimate goal where every single country should go for, and where that is, I believe, the only actual way to when VR will be as easy to accepted and as easy to understand as the film industry, for instance, when no one will ask why does it take so much time to create a VR work or any XR work, and why is it so financially asking, and why is it so expensive? So because we don't ask these kind of questions when it comes to film industry, it is kind of really widely accepted and understood. So that is a way where to go. And at the moment, I think that here in Finland, well, as far as I have noticed, it's the safe way, of course, is art research, meaning that the facilities that Aalto University and the rest of the universities they offer is incredible, not just from the content-wise, what the students get out of by studying there, but also the networking, because they have their own international networks, and they always are really transparent, meaning that if you are willing to know these things, you can just, even if you're not a student in Aalto University, you can just look up and actually go and ask, and so to try to network. So I believe that for countries and places where the industry is not so strong, that there would be actually an industry that takes care of this, is to do as much as possible regarding networking. That because when you're alone, that's going to be much harder to achieve anything. But when you gather together and look for similar-minded people, I think then also for applying for grant applications, it's much easier because you have a group of artists, not only one artist, and etc. So also the funding could be easier to get.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, I really wish that with the pandemic, things goes better with time, and we come back to previous or better networking occasions. And to wrap up our event, I want also give one more round for you and ask, would you have something to wish for creators who are listening to us? And another thing is, would you say that, yeah, please contact me if you need any advice on your idea, on your project? Would you say yes? Jeanne, I'm looking to Jeanne.
Yes, I would say yes. If any creator wants to, to involve France Télévisions, then you will need a production in your country and the producer in France. That's the way it works to be on an international co-production. But yes, I would say.
Thank you. Only then you can email Jeanne. That's to make clear. Ladies, Rasa.
Yes, if somebody would ask me, yes, sure. somebody would come to the gallery and say they have great VR content to show, sure, but also but also I can also, I'm happy to advise. I mean, I do it really a lot. So we are teaching both with writers so intensively in many countries. So and we always encourage, especially I really try to like to see how even people encourage people actually to come out by the end of this research experiential learning process, even if they haven't had much ideas before, but then they come out with really brilliant ones, and then they put them together and learn some even basics of these immersive technologies. For example, Eva could maybe say this, maybe she can comment also about her education and the push at least that we try to give is here in Latvia. And I'm happy that also we have some other locations, and and thanks for your great comments. So that universities at the moment in Latvia definitely are one of the places which can give you this first start to support these ideas, and then we will figure out how to collaborate with Arte, maybe, or France.
Thank you. Eva Ilza?
Yeah, it's true that actually the RASA is one of the reasons why I choose to continue this path, and the experience in Liepa University and also in Gisela was the reason why I decided to continue with XR art, and because I'm actually a producer, have been one for 7 years now, and have been working with different type of art events, and now for the last 3 years I have been working with XR art and XR art events, and now we'll do the research in Aalto University, which is also regarding to the production actually more, and all of the basically I'm willing to create a new methodology for art exhibiting in immersive environments. So that's going to be my chosen path. And what I would want to say for anyone who is looking for how to start is, first of all, not to be afraid, because that was my problem, to think like, am I actually able to do it? And I'm still struggling with the technological part of XR, and I'm definitely developing still and far from being professional in that one. But there are multiple ways, and you don't have to be perfect at all. You have to be willing to know, and if you're ready to learn, if you're ready to develop your ideas, that's the start, and that's actually the only thing that you need. Of course, you need food for your belly, but it will come, and you're not the only ones. Look for people who are the same minded, and look for inspirations, and go for different hubs. Like here in Finland, you can go for the Fever, which is the association, VR association, and they have different options for free consultations regarding anything that is related to VR and AR. And the same for Helsinki XR Center. They have many great working spaces where you can go, and they have all the technology there for you. You just have to want to take the option to be.
Okay, thank you, Eva Ilza. So if somebody feels like traveling to Finland, trying out everything you just shared with us, coming maybe to your event, or needing a partner in Finland, can they email you, can they contact you, and can you promise you're gonna do your best to match?
Yes, definitely, for sure.
Okay. Thank you. So thank you, ladies. Really pleasure. I hope this diversity stays in the industry as well. And yeah, it was super nice to hear all your takes on how you work within this industry. I hope the audience benefit from this and have more thoughts or more courage to just start doing, because it feels like that's the really way to just to start. And I would like to invite Christina on stage, the organizer of the Riga International Film Festival. Forum for this event. Christina, welcome on stage.
frame. Yeah, I should be here. Thank you, Eva, for guiding this talk and for exploring such wonderful topics. Thank you, Jean and Rassa and Eva Ilse. I really hope that our viewers now have a lot of food for thought, and I really loved what Eva said, that the main thing is just to be willing to learn. And this is actually what we are trying to achieve, and the message we try to pass on, that XR is a new medium, and we are the ones who are making the rules, actually. And I think the world at this stage really needs stories where we are not only passive viewers, but where we are first-hand experiencers, where we can empathize and sympathize with the stories that we hear. So I really hope that this year's edition of Extended Realities was useful for creators, and that all of our participants helped to lay another brick in the bridge between tech and art industry. And the videos, both of case studies and the discussion, will be available online on RIGA IFF YouTube channels. So feel free to join and watch and rewatch. They are available along our last year's edition videos as well. So we're building up quite a good archive. So once again, thanks to our partners, to the National Film Center of Latvia, to the British Embassy in Latvia and the French Institute, and also a huge thanks to our team who managed this event so spotlessly behind the monitors there, and all our volunteers who made this happen. So thank you once again, and hopefully see you next year.
Thank you, and please come to CVR in Splendid Palace. Yes. It's a wrap.